everybody, and welcome to a new episode of What the Field. I'm Emmeline.
And I am Gonzalo. I am a farmer and co-founder of Crowd Farming.
Today we are joined by Katja Busch, Chief Commercial Officer and Head of CSI of Deutsche Post DHL.
Hey, you
Welcome,
guys.
Katja.
Thanks for having me today.
So, Katja, I'm going to dive right into the topic. There's actually a burning question that we're asking ourselves a lot, and that is, when will transport be electrified? When will we have 100% electric vehicles on the roads? And do you think that it will all be powered by renewable energy? Or what's the situation from your point of view?
So let me start with the bad news. We will never see 100% electrified transportation, but what we will see is a carbon neutral transportation. So there are so many other drivers like sustainable aviation fuel, LNG gas, hydrogen. So electrification is definitely at the forefront and a super thing to do, but it will not work out for all kind of transportation.
Okay, and what can we expect from a timeline perspective? Because as of now, how much of your vehicles are electric?
So we aim to have in 2030 60% of our fleet electrified. Depends a lot on about the availability of electric vehicles. If you've probably followed a bit what's happening on the market, it takes a long time to get them. It is one thing to have a private car to drive on the road. Another thing is to have a car that has to cope with heavy loads. You know, you need so much more battery capacity. So different challenges are coming with that. So we have a lot of our fleet already electrified. Good example is the Netherlands, where we do the last mile completely carbon neutral with bikes and electric vehicles. But hey, still a way to go.
Is Europe like in the front of this career? Is there like a big difference between countries or continents?
So what we consider, yes, we see that Europe is really the spearhead of everything. In parts of the US and mainly big US companies are driving the topic very hard as well. But yeah, I would say the world is in very different maturity levels.
Very good. And about the electrification of fleet, because I know that is not the only methodology for getting carbon neutral. That is the important thing. The important thing is not like just electrification, but more like the getting carbon neutral. For the long distance travels, for these trucks traveling like 2,000 or 3,000 kilometers, I have read that there is a limitation because the distance that big trucks with battery is short. But I have seen young entrepreneurs, I met some of them, that use like rebels, no? They change every 300 kilometers, they change the track and they could implement the electrification of trucks, no? Really good companies.
Yeah, this is the on a positive note. There's so much going on in technology right now. So what we are talking today can be completely outdated tomorrow, and this is what we hope for. We really hope that young startups will solve some of these big issues, because it's exactly how you say, for the long distance and the heavy load, you would need so much battery capacity that it doesn't make any sense at all. So what we need are really different forms of batteries or of sustainable fuels, at least. And not to forget, the development of batteries is evolving on a daily basis as well, right? And the better that gets.
Katja, this is actually a topic where we receive a lot of criticism because people seem to take issue with home deliveries when it comes to sustainability. And they tell us, okay, how can you be a sustainable company and then send out oranges all over Europe? So how do you feel about home deliveries? Maybe you can give us an overall image of the situation. And you, as someone from DHL, you must have a lot of insight on this topic.
Yeah, look, so first of all, again, on the positive side, it's good that the consumer cares about it, right? That people try to educate themselves about a topic like this. Yes, with the rise of the online, more online orders and the acceleration we've actually seen over the past 2 years in the pandemic, the criticism grew as well. So, but there are definitely studies that with hard facts that are saying that it's less bad for the greenhouse gases if a guy who has 100 parcels in his trunk and does a few stops in the city, burns less gas than if all of us go to the supermarket at night, right? So this is one thing. The other thing is, obviously, the last mile is something we all see, because it's in front of our front door, and we open and we see the driver and we see that. So I think it is important that we get the last mile carbon free, but let's not forget, it's a very small part of the chain, and it's just so relevant for the consumer because this is the part he sees.
I think the last mile has become such an issue in recent years because of the public perception of how transport works and how the first steps that might be more relevant in terms of sustainability are, I would almost say, ignored because people are simply not aware that they matter more.
Yeah. As said, lucky us that people care about a topic like that, but you have to have a very balanced view and you need a lot of insights to really judge it. It's a small part of the chain. Everybody is working on electrification, and let's not forget the density of what a professional parcel delivery company is doing is so much better than when all of us go to the supermarket at night, because most likely we go by car, right? Don't take the mic.
Actually, you always say this to us, exactly the same sentence. Now, is it really that much worse if we send out the oranges or if everyone goes to the supermarket to buy them with their car? So maybe you could explain a bit, Gonzalo, how this works for us. Like, what is our logistical system and why do we think that it is still sustainable?
I always say, okay, these transport companies design the routes for going to 100 places in one van, one van. And what is more efficient? Like this route going through 100 households or 100 households going different routes, different ways of transportation. And another thing is that, as crowd farming, we are not just looking for cultivating organic. So our vision is to build the most sustainable food supply chain. So we see that the current food supply chain is broken. It's the most inefficient food supply chain of all the supply chains that exist. Okay, and what makes us different, that when people are buying their food through crowd farming, these fruits, especially the fruit and the most perishable ones, are hanging on a tree. So whenever they click to buy button, we start the activity. So the best place for a fruit to be is the tree. Okay, so we pick the fruit, we pack them on the same day, and in 2-3 days, imagine the fruit from Spain, in 2-3 days, they arrive to Germany, and the next day will be delivered. So in total, there is like 3 to 4 days traveling these oranges. In the traditional food supply chain, maybe you as a customer, you receive your order in 10 minutes, okay? Because all these companies are developing this ultra cult customer convenience of where I send you the fruit, your food in 10 minutes delivery. But you don't see how much time does this fruit need to go to this warehouse close to your place. So in crowd farming, we are reducing the average time by 75%, because usually an orange that you can buy in supermarkets, they have been traveling for 2-3 weeks on season. Okay, then you receive your order in 10 minutes, but these oranges have been traveling 2-3 weeks. And in order to maintain these oranges in good conditions for during these 2-3 weeks, they need to use wax, and they need to use chambers, refrigerated chambers, to maintain those oranges.
And fungicides even.
Yeah.
So that doesn't develop mold while it's waiting in the cold storage.
Yeah, exactly. So what we do in crowd farming, we send the parcels in bulk. In fact, in order to put more orders in one trailer, we reduce the available delivery dates. That is not very customer convenience methodology, but from an environment point of view, like reducing the delivery dates for customer and grouping more parcels is better. So we say in big trucks, and then DHL, they distribute around Germany and our Austria and Switzerland all the parcels together with more parcels.
Gonzalo mentioned something that you yourself mentioned, which is that it's important basically to get the truck full, right? To not have single packages traveling around, but to have really to use the truck to maximum capacity, basically. So would you say that this is also the best way to make the last mile more sustainable in general?
You know, to reach a more sustainable supply chain, you have to do two things in two steps. One is burn less and then go to burn clean. You know, burn less you can reach in many different ways. You can have good algorithms that are calculating your tour on a daily basis. This is what we're actually doing. You can have more efficient machines in your planes, in your trucks. So we ongoing renewing our airplanes to get to better and less burning machines. But this is limited, okay? This is everything you have to do, and we did in the past. But now we need to step into the next, we call it an S-curve, and this means burn clean. And there we are now at a status where we start to blend in sustainable, by example, aviation fuel, sustainable biodiesel for trucks. And and the final stage then will be really don't produce any emissions by driving around.
Talking about emissions, it is DHL's goal to achieve net zero, I think, by 2050. Maybe you could elaborate a bit on this, like what's the general plan, what steps are being taken today? And also we were wondering whether 2050 is not too far away a goal, because it sounds, very distant.
And the younger the person is you talk about that, the more distant it feels, I know. No, for us, actually, 2050 is around the corner, you know, because keep in mind, we are a logistics company. Whatever we touch produces greenhouse gases, right? We are producers of movement. You can call it like that. And this is one thing. So this is our purpose as a company. We produce movements, cost always energy. Second thing is we are, and I'm very happy to be in the privileged position to say that, we are growing. Yeah, we are growing for quite some time. So it's not just that you have to reduce your greenhouse gases, but you have to compensate for the growth to get to an absolute lower number, right? So we have certain goals on our way to 2050. We are on a very good way. I'm very positive that we get there and that we get the goals for 2030, 40, and then to zero. But yes, it's a way to go. And obviously, we need a lot of collaboration with the industry, with suppliers. We need new technologies. It's not doable without collaboration.
You have an optimistic view of the future in this.
Yes, because I see what we are all doing. I see how seriously my company drives this topic. What makes me, by the way, very proud. Yeah,
thank you. I mean, thanks to companies like DHL, farmers around Europe, we can sell our products without intermediaries. So they are also not, thanks to their activity, they are also creating changes in society. So the impact a transport company can create is not just environmental, but it's also from a social metrics. No, without companies, without last mile delivery companies, farmers, we will not be able to sell without intermediaries.
Of course, in this sense, you're very much enablers of change, for us at least.
Yes, and I'm very happy that I found you, and the people listening to this podcast will not believe that I was a customer of crowd farming long before I got the request for this podcast. And I absolutely like the concept to take the intermediary out, because it is a margin eater. Let's call it like that. It's a margin eater. It has an environmental impact. I'm very much into organic food and into companies that are taking the topic as serious as we do. So, and this is one industry, but you see that all over the place, that it gets really hard for people that are just wholesaling things. So I do see probably life science healthcare could be the next industry that gets disrupted by that. So there is a trend towards this, and I think it's the right thing to do, because why would I have a leaner margin for the farmer, right? He's the one who produces the food, so he should get the most out of the deal.
How much the environmental efforts that DHL is doing, how much is affecting to the value of your shares? How much is affecting to the retention of your employees? how much is affecting your customer retention?
So basically all the types of valuations. Yeah.
So in general, I would say to care about sustainability and to get to zero impact for the environment is going forward the license to operate. I'm very, very convinced that companies who do not care will disappear from the landscape. So, how does that affect our we call it our 3 bottom lines, it's 100% to each. Yeah, let's start with our employees. Our folks are getting younger and younger, and they just don't work for a steep career and for money. They want to get purpose. They want to know why they come every day, why they get up. And they would not tolerate to work in a company that does not care for the future of their children. Our shareholders, absolutely the same. As I said, license to operate. They just invest in companies where they see we are still there in 50 years, right?
Yeah.
What was the third one?
The customer acquisition.
Our customers obviously on the forefront asking us, hey guys, what are you doing? So customers decide for the greener version of transportation because they have to justify their own GHG emissions as well. It's a so-called Scope 3. This is all transport related. So the better we are, the better for their own P&L and balance sheet.
Yes, definitely. You recently published a very interesting white paper titled Delivering on Circularity. Could you maybe give us a sneak peek of the main conclusions?
Yeah, that was indeed a very interesting project. So we figured that the fashion, and mainly the fast fashion industry, I have to say, and the consumer electronics are responsible for globally 6% of greenhouse gases. That is double that much than the entire aviation industry. Keep that in mind. This is really a big, big number. And we developed this white paper not to bash this industry. It's quite the opposite. These are very, very valued big customers. So we digged into that with them together to say, so what needs to change to get into a more circular economy? Because this will be a big lever for our problem. If you see, probably you saw the pictures out of the Atacama Desert in Mexico where all this unused clothes, this overproductions we in the Western countries are producing ends up then. So it is a big, big problem. We have to go for circularity, and we believe that some of the business models and in the aftermath, the logistics models have to change massively. So if you today have a sneaker, a common sneaker, it's made out of over 20 different things. So it would be super hard to recycle it. The different glues and all the layers. So it wouldn't make any sense to recycle a sneaker. So we have to go to refurbish. We have to produce in a different way. And I know the industry is on this topic to produce things you can easily recycle. There are first tests and pilot to make a sneaker out of just one component, which is super interesting. So I could keep talking about this topic. It's really, really excited, and we have the white paper on LinkedIn. Who is interested can download it. So,
yes.
Yeah.
But what I took from it was that the main thing are the 5 R's, as you call them. No, refurbish, recycle. Help me out here. What were the other 3?
Reduce.
And resell and repair. I think that was where
Exactly.
So I think that makes a lot of sense. Basically, what you're saying, instead of always buying new things.
Yeah, and I have to say, since we published this white paper, I really tried just to consume less.
Yeah.
Really actively try to consume less things. I would have bought before we did that, and now I'm saying, so no.
It's actually really hard to do nowadays. I feel like, especially for young people growing up with platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, you have nothing besides people trying to in some way sell you something and telling you need this new cream, you need this, you need that. And I think the line blurs between what we think we need and what we actually need. So yeah, this is actually also something that we tackle at Crowd Farming a lot, because do you really need to be able to buy avocados the whole year round? this is actually a debate we were having internally as well. Like, is it really necessary to make sure the consumers can have everything at all time? Or are you able to live without strawberries in January, for example?
Even from a healthy point of view, I mean, our bodies are not used to eat the same fruit the whole year. So we are made by eating just fruit from a certain period of time, no? So the nature knows when do we need the citrics, nature knows when do we need the summer fruit, nature knows when do we need the things like avocados.
And it's also automatically more sustainable. And as you also mentioned earlier, maybe a much bigger factor in sustainability than the last mile transport is actually the fact that we need greenhouses to produce fruit that's not even in season all year round, or to transport it even further away, where then the last mile is the least of our issues if we're shipping fruit by plane or ship from anywhere in the world at all times of the year.
And I think there is this common saying, sustainability comes with a price tag. And it's true. And it's not just about money. It is about our personal contribution as a consumer, and we have to change our behavior. And nobody wants to know that. It's this, so no, not in my backyard. Yeah, I want to have a windmill, but put it far away from my house, right? And this is the same with consumption. Everybody knows it's not smart to buy blueberries in January, but we do, because they are there. It's so convenient, and we like it so much, but we have to change. This is mandatory. There's no alternative.
I always like to put another example of one study that was developed by scientists from Stockholm University back in like 20 years ago already. They were comparing what was more sustainable, to grow tomatoes in Spain and ship them to Sweden, or to grow tomatoes in Sweden for local market. And it was much more efficient to cultivate in Spain, because for the weather conditions that we have naturally, the tomato plants cultivate more production and require less less artificial electrification. And even though we need to transport like 2,000 or even 3,000 kilometers, it's much more efficient than cultivating tomatoes in Sweden during the winter.
Yeah, no doubt.
True. Another issue that I know is actually not that big of a problem in terms of overall emissions and sustainability in general, but it's still something that is bothering us quite a lot, is the problem of the packaging. Because even if we use, and we already used the minimum possible amount of packaging, we don't send out a single fruit, we always send in bulk. And we do always use recycled cardboard boxes, as you know, if you're a client. It's very unusual to receive any more packaging than that, unless you're buying cheese. And for sanitary reasons, we have to use plastic sometimes, depending on the cheese. But still, the issue remains. If you buy a lot of products, you will have a lot of boxes, and then what to do with the boxes. And I think any e-commerce kind of has this problem that you cannot, you have to send the product in some kind of packaging. But then what happens? Even if it's super recycled, it's still something that ends up being waste, right? So what can we do? Companies like yours, companies like ours, so the transport and the e-commerce companies, to tackle this?
Yeah, that very interesting question. We are on this topic with a lot of customers, as you said, and the higher the value of the good, the more the companies are interested in talking to us, right? Yeah. So the holy grail is a multi-use box that keeps in a closed circle. Sounds super easy and trivial, is super complex to do that. This is why it's not so common now, but this is something we will see in the future. So happy to talk to you guys in the aftermath what we can do. Two tricky things is the cleaning of the boxes and to get them back.
Yeah.
And now we had once, and this is at the very beginning of my career, we had in Deutsche Post a very nice product called the Post Box, and we needed finally, so we were ahead of time. It's 20 years ago or something. We had to stop the product because these boxes end up in the basements of a lot of people, because it was so nice to keep books in it or tools or anything like that. So we didn't get the boxes back and had a big loss-making product.
Yeah, where boxes are good also for cats to sleep.
For cats to sleep, exactly.
Hard for moving.
But today, with new technologies like smart sensor technology that can tell you where your goods are on a scalable level without too much cost, we have to give this another try. It is so important.
But as you said, I think a lot of it depends on the customer and the customer's willingness for inconvenience, as we call it, no? Because actually, in Germany, for example, there was a lot of effort from the cosmetics industry to have refillable packaging, right? So you would buy your shampoo in a bottle and then you could go to the supermarket and refill it. But apparently, this is almost not done anymore because it simply didn't work. And consumers simply wouldn't take all of their bottles and go to the supermarket and fill them up. I think it would be similar with the bottles.
But the industry, and it's very convenient to sit here and being a smart ass, but honestly, I think two major mistakes. The customer didn't get rewarded for doing that, and the customer didn't get educated on this. Not enough. To change behavior for a human being just takes time, yeah? It takes time. You have to do things over and over. And the better you reward this behavior, the more common it gets. So, that's a sad thing, but this will come back. This will come back and it will work out.
It should not be just a reward in terms of money, but also in terms of sharing knowledge. I mean, giving the people the information about the impact of their behaviors is also a reward, not like giving them information. We have a really interesting discussion about, okay, in what project do we need to focus? We are in a small company, crowdfunding still is a small company, so we need to focus and put all the efforts in 2 or 3 projects, not like 20 projects, no? Because as you can imagine, we have a lot of ideas. You are part of these ideas. Hey, why don't we do this? And why don't we do that? So we decided to focus, for example, and to put more efforts into helping farmers converting into organic. Okay, this conversion project creates much more impact than changing the packaging in crowd farming. So like putting all the agronomists, like teaching the farmers how to do this transition to organic production is much more efficient in terms of environment than putting like 20 people rethinking the packaging issue.
Although we do rethink the packaging a lot.
We do.
We also have a packaging specialist trying to rethink it.
You know what I say? Maybe you don't like this answer. I think the packaging should be a problem of the transport company. So the transport company should not just...
Probably all their clients.
Transport company should not just provide transport, but also packaging. Okay, let me tell me.
Easy, we're dropping the ball in your lap.
So we take care of the origin of the food supply chain, we take care of the farmers, and you take care of the rest.
Probably the holy grail is indeed collaboration, you know. But yeah, packaging, I agree with you. It's just such a small part of the problem, you know. We know that from all the studies we did. But it is the thing that happens on the front step of the customer, you know. People, consumers see that, they feel bad that they produce so much waste, and so we have to take that serious as well to convince people that we as an industry are working on all angles on this, right? Otherwise, the consumer feels left alone. He said, yeah, but you're doing all this green stuff, but in my world, nothing changed, right? So this is something, I agree with you, but I agree with you as well. We have to fix this topic.
Both sides. I think, we could probably spend a lot more time talking about supply chains and packagings and transport, but unfortunately we don't have so much time. And before we end this podcast, I would love to get a bit more personal and talk about Katja Busch, the person. So maybe you could tell us who you are and what your motivation is and what is your vision currently at DHL.
Yeah, so
the question.
I'm actually 53 years old. I'm since 25 years with Deutsche Post DHL. I never thought I would stay that long, but I have to say this company kept me inspired all the time. And whenever I thought, now I'm getting a bit bored, they came around the corner with new issues to fix, with new topics, with new places to explore. So you talk to a very, very happy DHL.
Sounds kind of almost like a marriage or something, no?
I think that is so important. I feel myself as a very privileged person. I go to the office every day and think, yes, this is exactly what I want to do. And I think if you can say that, you're in a very, very privileged position. So it doesn't feel like work all the time. Things blur. It's my life. It is what I love to do.
I can very much relate. I mean, I'm probably not a good idea saying this with my boss sitting next to me, but I have days when I'm like, when the German in me gets like annoyed at all the chaos of a startup, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing here? And then I remember what crowd farming's mission is, and then I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I want to be doing, and this is the motivation to get up and do it and be like, okay, let's go through things, or let's sometimes even do work that you're not completely passionate about, because the overall dynamics and mission of the company.
You have secured your promotion, Emily. Thank you for that. Katja, what is the main result? What is your main mission in DHL right now? Like the top
priority.
The top priority for you now in DHL.
For me as a person, for my company, it has always been the same. I am definitely not Steve Jobs. I will not change the universe. But what I can do, I can make the life of my people better every day as long as I'm around. And this is that really means something to me. So I'm a very passionate leader, and the feedback of my people and to keep them happy is what keeps me going, right? And of course, my customers.
Yeah.
So it is so much fun. It's such an exciting role to talk to across all industries,
Yeah.
I have one last question. I think this is probably something you get a lot, but talking about your role, actually you have two roles. No, you have responsible for sales operations as Chief Commercial Officer, and you're responsible for sustainability as head of CSI. So how do you juggle these two roles, and how do they go together? Because at first glance, they do seem a bit counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, so we have to separate it. As a Chief Commercial Officer, I'm not directly responsible for the sales organizations in the respective divisions, but I am the layer across all the divisions. So everything that is commercially related and affects our brand, or things like our DHL.com website, this is in my responsibility to align across the group. We are a big yellow and red monster, so there's a lot of alignment to do to keep things together. That is one part. The other part is being the head of solutions and innovations, and that means that my team and me are responsible for the biggest 100 customers in the world, the really big ones, is one part. I have the innovation centers. You probably heard about them. We have 4 of them in Singapore, Chicago, in Dubai, and in Troisdorf, close to Bonn, are in my responsibility, where we're working a lot of innovative projects like robotics, like smart sensor technique, IoT-related things. And I have all the digital touch points for the group. The 3HL.com is the biggest example. We keep it like that. So a mixed portfolio, but everything related to customers. So, I'm big fan.
Big fan. Do you ever sleep?
Yeah, I do.
Because it didn't sound like it just now. I was like...
I do, and I very well.
Okay, good to know.
Good to know. So I thought that we don't have to negotiate the tariffs with you right now. So you are not responsible of our... So thank you very much for joining us. It has been a pleasure receiving you here in Crowd Farming, and it's amazing that a company like DHL get interested about what's going on with direct sales of farming, direct sales of organic food. And thank you. It has been a real inspiration to talk with you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. When I got my first box of avocados from you guys, I would have never thought that I end up at this table talking to you.
Okay, and thank you also to our viewers and listeners for tuning in for another episode. We hope you enjoyed this little field trip into the world of transport, logistics, and DHL. And until next time, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.